Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Press for Truth TV on this Tuesday, April the 30th, 2013. The Auditor General here in Canada has just released his spring report today, which outlines some things that he has discovered that is very concerning and troubling, namely the fact that $3.1 billion, which is allocated to the Canadian government for anti-terrorism funding, has apparently just disappeared from the books, and at this point is unaccounted for. This is $3.1 billion of your Canadian taxpayer money that was allocated for anti-terrorism funding, which the Treasury Board has even suggested that they have no answers at this point to where that money has gone. Here's a report on that out today from the CBC. Canada can't account for $3.1 billion in anti-terror funding. The federal government needs to do better at tracking and evaluating some of its program spending to ensure taxpayer dollars are being well spent, Auditor General Michael Ferguson found in his spring report released today. And one of the most striking examples is that it can't account for $3.1 billion in anti-terrorism funding. The lack of information on spending and on results archived for money spent is a common theme throughout Ferguson's report, which includes 11 chapters in total. In his audit of the Public Security and Anti-Terrorism Initiative, Ferguson suggested there should have been a government-wide review of spending and results for the program that was funded between 2001 and 2009. He found that departments reported spending $9.8 billion of the $12.9 billion, which was allocated for security and anti-terrorism measures under the program, but he couldn't determine where the other $3.1 billion went. The Treasury Board has no clear answers for him. So once again, that is $3.1 billion of your Canadian taxpayer money, which the Treasury Board says, we got no answers for you in regards to where that money has went. Well, I think the government knows full well where that money went. I mean, $3.1 billion does not just simply disappear. And considering that we are under this Orwellian system here in the 21st century, we have to consider the possibility that there could be some Orwellian doublespeak going on here, where anti-terrorism funding really means terrorism funding. I mean, it's no secret that intelligence communities, organizations in the United States, for example, like the CIA, has been funding terrorism and terrorist organizations, like the Al-Qaeda-led rebels in Libya and Syria. That is no longer a secret or any kind of conspiracy theory. They have admitted to that. And we have to consider now also the fact that the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, as well as the RCMP, are now openly working hand in hand with the American intelligence communities. So another piece of information which also just came out today may offer up some clues as to where the missing money may have gone, especially when you consider just how closely the Canadian government is now working with the American authorities. So here's a report that just came out today which points out where some of the CIA's money, the American taxpayer money, has gone through the CIA. And again, this may offer some clues, considering how closely we are related, working together with the American authorities. Perhaps this will offer some clues as to the missing $3.1 billion in Canadian funds.
Throughout the past decade of deaths and grievous injuries to Americans fighting in Afghanistan, including a cost to this nation of more than $600 billion, Americans have been told our point man there is the popularly elected President Hamid Karzai, and we've been reassured he has U.S. interests at heart. Well, that took a blow today when we woke up to the news that Karzai has been receiving bags of cash from the CIA, among others. That would be U.S. taxpayer money. Our chief foreign affairs correspondent, Andrea Mitchell, has been following this story, is also in our D.C. bureau tonight. Andrea, good evening.
Good evening, Brian. And somewhat incredibly, Hamid Karzai today confirmed that the CIA has in fact been dropping off bags of cash at his national security office for years. But he says it isn't millions, it's only $300,000 a month. Well, do the math. If you multiply that over 10 years, that adds up to $36 million by Karzai's own account. The New York Times was first to report these payments today and said that the cash was delivered sometimes in suitcases, in backpacks, even plastic shopping bags. U.S. officials say that the money is used to buy the loyalty of warlords as well as cover some off-the-book operations. Now, we checked with the White House, the State Department, the CIA, none of whom would deny this report. And in Washington speak, that goes to a confirmation. I even asked one official if payments of cash had in fact been delivered every day to Karzai's office, and he said, well, we never said it was every day. One interesting footnote, by the way, Iran had also been delivering payments to Karzai until about a year ago when Tehran cut Karzai off supposedly because he was getting too close to the U.S.